Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fox Talks. I'm David Fox, certified high performance coach, and I want to welcome you to today's session, which is the science of influence and how high performers move people. Now, before I jumped on live, I took a peek into the registrations and I saw a lot of familiar names, folks that have been to previous Fox Talks. So, welcome back. And I also saw a lot of new names. So, welcome the new folks. So for the new folks, just let me give you 20 seconds of housekeeping before we start. So the first thing is we keep the cameras off. And we do that because we have a lot of ground to cover in 30 minutes. And we don't want there to be that distraction where you're seeing other people's cameras in their backgrounds. It's just distracting. So we keep them off. The second thing is that Jen's going to be monitoring the chat. She'll be in the chat. That way I can focus on just delivering you a great session. So if you have any questions or any comments, she'll be interacting with you in the chat. And since we have the cameras off, feel free to use the reaction button, right? The hearts, the thumbs up, all that kind of stuff, because it keeps us connected. And since I can't see your faces, I don't know if you're giving me a thumbs up, if you're appreciating what we're doing, or if you've fallen asleep, okay? So feel free to use that reaction button. Let's get started. So influence, sometimes it gets a bad reputation. Some people think it might be manipulative. Some people think it thinks it's salesy or like it's politics, something like that. Influence is not that, right? You have influence, you have persuasion, and then you have manipulation. Now, manipulation, we don't cover. We don't do that. That's unethical. We don't go anywhere near that at Fox. But we do go deep into influence and persuasion. In fact, if you're one of our one-on-one clients or in our digital course, we have a whole module, a whole session devoted just to influence, where we talk about how you can challenge folks to think differently, or how you can challenge them to raise to a higher level, or how you can role model behavior. We go deep in influence, and we have a whole other session and module on persuasion because they're both incredibly important. All right, so let's talk about influence today. And influence, it's not about charisma. It's not about charm. It's not about being loud. It's definitely not about having a title or authority. All right, it's simple. It's your ability to help people see what you see. It's your ability to help them believe what matters and to choose to move with you willingly. Now, let's be honest for a second. I've had this, I'm sure we've all had that moment where we've explained something really clearly and we get the head nod from somebody and then nothing happens, right? Now, it's likely not a people problem. It might be an influence problem. It might be an influence lever problem. Because here's why. Most people use just one or two of the influence levers that are available to them. High performers use 4. So that's why their teams follow them. That's why their family listens to them. That's why they're successful in a matrix organization where, nobody technically reports to anyone else. And it's why they hit the big goals while everyone else is on the struggle bus, right? Stuck pushing uphill. So today I'm going to show you the science of the 4 levers and exactly why they matter for you in 2026. Why, if you want 2026 to be better than 2025. And our goal today, my goal, is to help you so that you can implement these 4 levers immediately as soon as this session is over, right away. That's my goal. Now, before we talk tactics, let's talk a little bit of reality. Okay, every meaningful goal you have for 2026, whether that's in your career or something for your team or in your relationships or in your personal growth, every one of them requires influence. If you want a promotion, you're going to need influence. You want better communication at home? requires influence. You want to lead across departments when you don't have authority? Influence. You want to earn client trust or have people stop resisting you, or you want to build some momentum? I'm sure you guessed what the answer is. Influence, influence, influence. Now, let me drop a truth bomb on you for a second. And this is not to offend anyone. It's just to maybe shine a flashlight on something that I think is important. So your goals don't fail because of lack of talent. It's more likely your goals fail because you couldn't move the people that you needed to move. Now think about that for a second. Think back to this week. Think back to last month. Think across this year. The times when you missed what you were trying to accomplish. Was it because you didn't have the skill? You didn't have the talent? Or was it because you didn't move the people you needed to move? So why does that happen? It happens to everyone. Why does that happen? Well, it's because most people rely on just one or two of the four levers that are available to them. So I imagine you might be thinking, all right, Coach David, what are these magic levers that you speak of? Okay, so here they are. So we're going to walk through each one. And the first two, they're going to feel obvious. They should, because it's what everyone uses. One question is, but are you doing them as well as you could? See, at Fox, we have a hierarchy which we coach in influence. And the hierarchy is know, K-N-O-W. So know, do, believe, and feel. And this is backed up by decades of neuroscience and behavior psychology. Okay, so let's dig in. So your first lever is know, right? It's what do I want the person to know? It's rather straightforward. It's the information that you need to give them. It's the clarity that's going to prevent confusion. So we start here because our brains hate confusion, all right? So this is the most basic level. It's the facts. It's the context. It's the situation. You're answering questions like, what's happening, or what's changing, or what do they need to know so they're not confused, right? So it's important to be clear and unambiguous. See, most folks just jump right into talking, and they assume because they understand it, that the other person does too. And that's not always true, right? Would you agree? See, you must clarify the no, or the other levers that can't land. So here's a concept for you. So cognitive load theory. It tells us that when information is messy or incomplete, our brains shut down, right? People will just ignore your message, or they'll oversimplify it so it makes sense to them, probably in a way that you didn't intend. So let me give you an example of this is what I want someone to know. Okay, so Jamie's going to be our example throughout. So I'm talking to Jamie. Jamie, leadership moved up the deadline. We need the full report by Friday. And was that clear? Yes, of course, right? Was it influential? No, not at all. Now you might be saying, all right, David, that's common sense. So you're right, it is common sense, but as my coach likes to say all the time, common sense isn't always common practice. Right? Would you agree? Okay, so clarity alone doesn't move anyone. It just keeps you from losing them immediately. All right? Right. I said it was going to be the first two will be straightforward. There's the first. The second lever that we teach is do, right? What do I want them to do? This is the action, right? This is the step or the decision that you want them to take. See, most leaders feel confident in this section. It usually sounds like, here's what I need you to do, or here's your deadline, or here's your task, right? But direction It doesn't guarantee action, right? See, this is also where most leaders get confused because they assume clarity and instruction equals action, but it doesn't. So BJ Fogg has a behavior model, and there's 3 parts to it. So part 1 is motivation, part 2 is ability, and part 3 is a prompt. So when you tell someone what you need them to do, you're giving them the prompt. Makes sense. But if there was no motivation attached to it, if there's no ability, then you're going to get resistance or maybe guilt. So I'm sure you've seen this. You've heard things probably like, I'll get to it, or I'm slammed, or, maybe next week. See, you gave direction, but you didn't influence. See, this is where most leadership stalls out. People know what's happening. They know what they're supposed to do, but they don't feel like doing it. So what's the result? You get half-hearted effort, or you get quiet resistance, or maybe a little lip service, right? So again, the first 2 levers are not new to you. Again, common sense isn't always common action, right? But ask yourself, could you be doing them better? Now, let's move into where the meat of today's presentation is, our session is, right? This is where it starts to get spicy, because this is where we show you what high performers do that separates them from everyone else. Okay, so lever 3 is believe. What do I want them to believe? So this is the meaning. Okay, this is the mindset that makes the action matter. So this is where true influence begins. So you must shape belief behind the behavior. Okay, you got to shape that belief behind the behavior. And that's going to create a shift from compliance to commitment. Okay? Now, there's 2 big pieces of science that I need you to understand. The first one is identity-based motivation. So here's what that means. People act when the behavior fits who they think they are or who they want to be. I'm going to say it again because it's incredibly important. Identity-based motivation. People act when their behavior fits who they think they are or who they want to be. Now, the second science that I need you to understand is cognitive consistency theory. It's very similar to the first. So what that means is people want their beliefs and their actions and their identity to all line up. Okay, beliefs, actions, and identity. They want them to all line up. They want them to be congruent. So here's what that ends up meaning. What influence means at this level of belief, this is what it sounds like. We are the team that ... Okay, we are the team that fill in the blank. This change protects you. Or this isn't busy work. This is how we win Q1. I'll give you another one. Seth Godin, who's one of my favorite authors, he comes at it a different way. He phrases it this way. He says, people like us do things like this. Okay? So let's revisit our example with Janie. So here we go. Janie, your section is what positions us to win Q1, right? Leadership relies on the insights that you provide to decide the budget and the strategy. What you deliver this week will shape our direction for the next 90 days. Now it matters, right? Now there's identity. Now there's meaning. See, people don't follow instruction. People follow the stories they believe about themselves. I'm going to say that again because it's important. In fact, write this down, right? People don't follow instruction. People follow the stories they believe about themselves. So you must shape the belief. And once you understand that, you'll stop taking resistance personally. See, often people aren't resisting you. They're just protecting their own identity. I'm going to take a pause for a second. I'm going to take a temperature check. Are you guys digging this? Is this serving you? Are you tracking with me? Just give me a reaction if you are. Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. So, the fourth lever is feel. So, what do I want them to feel? So, this is emotion, right? This is the driver of decision making. This is the highest lever that there is. And unfortunately, almost no one uses it intentionally. But it's the most powerful lever. See, emotion drives decision making. And then logic justifies it afterward. All right? Emotion drives decision making. Logic justifies it afterward. Now, you might be sitting there being a little skeptical saying, Coach David, no, I get that, but not me. No, not me. All my decisions are grounded in logic, and they're really well thought out. I don't make decisions on emotion. Okay. Here's what I'll ask you to do. Just keep an open mind for a minute, and let me see if what we talk about next might change your mind. Okay, so there are three important science concepts that I'm going to share, and they're going to layer on top of each other, okay? So the first one is Antonio Damasio. He's a nice Irish lad. So he worked with brain-injured patients. And what he found was that when emotional processing is damaged, decision-making falls apart, even with full logic intact. Let me break that down a little bit. So when your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that controls emotions, right? Your emotional center. So when that's damaged, or your limbic system in general is damaged, but your prefrontal cortex, which is where your rational decision making happens, this is the parts of your brain. If your prefrontal cortex is perfect, but your amygdala or your limbic system is damaged, you can't make decisions. His patients couldn't make any decisions, even though they had full ability to have reason. They were stymied. They couldn't make a decision. Now, the second concept I want to introduce you to is called emotional contagion. You may have heard this before. So the research takes us a little further. It says that people mirror your emotional state within milliseconds. Okay, so people are reading you and they're syncing with you long before the words that you say are processed. They connect with you emotionally before they connect with you rationally. And the third concept is memory research from McGough and Friedrichsen. So it shows that emotion encodes messages into long-term memory. So when you have some emotional component to either a message or an experience, it's the emotion that encodes what happened into long-term memory. So they all layer on top of each other. So what does that mean for you? It means if you're not shaping how someone feels, you're leaving influence just a chance. Okay. Are you following me? Are you with me? Is this serving you? Okay. So let me finish our example with Jamie. So Jamie, speaking to Jamie, leadership has moved up the deadline. That's the no. Okay. We need your competitive analysis by Wednesday so that I can integrate it into the deck on Thursday. So that's your due. Okay. So your section is what positions us to win Q1. It shapes how leadership allocates budget and attention. That's the believe. That made it meaningful. Okay. And now the feel. I want you to feel confident in taking this on, and I want you to feel supported the whole way. If you get any resistance or if someone tries to put something else on your plate, let me know right away and I'll provide some air cover. And I want you to feel proud on Friday knowing you delivered something exceptional. That's the feel. Now you have used all 4 levers. So in practice, when we're coaching our one-on-one clients for how to prepare for an important conversation, we take them through this hierarchy. The know. What do I need them to know so they're not blindsided? All right. The do. What action or decision am I asking for specifically? The believe. What story or identity makes this action meaningful? And the feel. How do I want them to feel during our interaction and after our interaction? And here's the most important part. And what do I need to do how do I need to show up to create it? All right. So it's not just what I want them to feel. Now the responsibility is on me. What do I have to do? How do I need to show up so I create what I'm trying to create? See, when you consistently work with 4 levers, you stop talking at people and you start leading with them. See, high achievers, they're good at the know and the do, the first 2 levers. High performers, they're deliberate about the believe and the feel. And that's the jump. So why does this matter for 2026? Let's land this for you. If you want 2026 to be a breakthrough year for you, whether that's professionally or personally or in your relationships, you must master influence. Everything you want requires it. If you want buy-in or alignment or trust or emotional intelligence or support, all of those things are going to require influence. So here's 2 questions I want you to carry into next week. The first one is, which lever is most underused for you? That's the first one. Which one do you use the least? Here's maybe a bigger question. And what would change if you started using all 4? Okay, so just imagine that. Your interactions with your team or with your boss or the sales that you're trying to close or the conversations and things you're trying to have at home. If you used all 4 levers, the know, do, believe, and feel, what would those interactions be like? Can you envision it? Can you envision it going well? Right? See, that's influence. And that's high performance. Okay. So see, we have about 6 minutes left. We are right on time, folks. So let's end with something practical. We've spent 24 minutes on how high performers hit those big goals and how the folks that are hitting those big goals, they aren't pushing alone, right? They know how to bring others along with them. They know how to move people. And here's the honest truth. You don't become that leader by accident, right? You have to get intentional. You have to be intentional about using influence, using it repeatedly with support and accountability. So if you're thinking, hey, I want to show up in 2026 with influence and presence and leadership at a higher level, there are three really easy, real ways to do that. So first one is Jen's Fox Talk next Friday, December 19th. So she's going to be expanding on influence, but taking it from a different angle, right? Her topic is influencing up. It's how to shape your year-end review for better results. Now, Jen has been in hundreds and hundreds of these meetings. She's been in the room hundreds and hundreds of times, and she's going to give you the keys to the kingdom. This is absolutely a Fox Talk, not to miss. So the second way is to book a strategy session. Look, a strategy session is a 60-minute coaching call with either Jen or me, you choose. And it's real coaching, where we're going to dive into whatever opportunities in front of you, or whatever you might be struggling with, or your goals for 2026. And anyone could just go on our website right now and sign up for $497. But since you're here on this Fox Talk, Jen and I, we believe in rewarding folks who take action to improve their life. So you'll get an email right after the session ends that'll have a code, and it'll make that session, that strategy session, completely complimentary for you for the end of this year. So we set aside a few every month. Grab one. Let me point out something for a second. So if you're here right now, obviously you see that there's another level that's available to you, that there's something you'd like to change in your life. And we're offering you a free coaching session with no strings, no obligation attached. So if you don't grab it, you must be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or something, because it's right there for you. Take advantage of it. Truly, we don't hit you with a hard sales pitch. It's just coaching. It's our gift to you for taking action. So it's been our honor to coach you. And what I ask you to do now is go practice all 4 of those levers and watch how fast your world changes. Okay. Cheers, everyone.